Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Okay, so continuing the series on this, we think it's a Norton crystalline combination coarse fine silicon carbide stone. The stone's starting to look quite a bit better. I mean, it's still not flat, but we are looking at some stuff that reconditions the stone, and so far a couple of surprising things. With this stone, I did not think that the rubbing stone was going to work as well as it did. It worked really good. The diamond stone, the one from Harbor Freight, really didn't work out so good. The 80 grit sandpaper from 3M, it had some surprisingly good results. The file was not as good as what I had hoped it was, but honestly we're just raking the edge of it over an old file. So yeah, that's what we did so far. So now we're getting to what I'm kind of excited to see, and that is, how about an old cinder block? Okay, honestly I don't think the cinder block itself is going to do all that well. You know, I could be wrong. You know, I was kind of shocked at the 80 grit sandpaper. But I've also got some loose sand, and I think that's going to speed things up considerably. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rub this on the cinder block, take a look at it underneath the microscope. I think we might do a quick scratch pattern test on it, you know, after that. Then do the same thing with the sand on the cinder block, and then hopefully we'll have enough time to get to the rock tumbling setup and the plate glass and go ahead and wrap the whole thing up. So let's go ahead and get to it with so this right here is just a cinder block that I pulled out of my backyard. You know, I don't know when I bought it. I don't really know how to tell the difference between different types of cinder blocks, so you know, it's just a cinder block. So we're going to go ahead and wet it down really good. Actually, this time, now that our stone's getting flat, let me get a pencil. Okay, our stone's starting to look, you know, in a lot better shape. I mean, remember when we started with it, it was all crusty and nasty. Looked like somebody had been rubbing a penny on it. I mean, it was just nasty looking, right? So now we got a grid pattern on there. And this is just plain old tap water. Okay. So, you know, that actually feels like it's cutting. Okay. So what we've got here, you can kind of see the ends are starting to wear away the pencil, but not really a whole lot yet. It is feeling pretty good. We'll give it another little bit, and then we'll do a scratch test on it. Okay. Alright, so let's get back over here to the bench and we'll do a scratch test with it. Oh, first we want to look at it underneath the scope. Let's turn that on. Turn that on. Now, from what the pencil is telling me, oh, I gotta turn the light on too. From what the pencil is telling me is that we're fading out here but we still got strong pencil marks pretty much all across the middle. Okay, so I believe that's still in the middle there. You know, where we got this mat of, you know, trash going on. You know, here at the end, we're still kind of looking, you know, I mean, it's getting flatter, but it's not getting reconditioned really. You know, one thing different is that I rinsed it off underneath the sink the last couple of times and didn't do that this time. Let me rinse it off. Wow, I'm not sure what that is. Huh. Yeah, see, even rinsing it off, we're still getting, I mean, this is flattening it, you know, kind of at an okay rate, probably about the same as the rubbing block. Maybe not quite as nice as the rubbing block, but it doesn't look like it's conditioning it. So we'll do just a really quick scratch test on it. Yeah, that feels glazed over to me, and it sounds glazed over. So in the interest of saving some time, we're gonna go, we're not even gonna look at that scratch pattern, because we know what it's gonna see, or what we're gonna see, you know, as compared to the other ones. So this time, this is something I'm pretty excited about. And I saw this on another YouTuber, can't remember the fellow's name, but he was just taking regular old sand and putting it on a block. Can't remember if it was a cinder block or if it was just a rock in his yard. Now the way the silicon carbide works, you know, the loose silicon carbide works, I'm kind of expecting this to really just tear the surface of this down really fast. I'm not sure how the surface is going to look as far as conditioning it. I think it's going to get really flat, but it may or may not be conditioned very well. Oh yeah, look at that. I mean, just with a, well, you guys might not be able to see it, but just with a couple of strokes there, I mean, it already feels like it's ripping and tearing onto that stone. And I was seeing black specks in the sand almost immediately. Okay, now right about here, I feel that sand is broken down, and it's pretty much done everything I think it's going to. I don't know if you can tell the difference in the sound, the pitch from when I started into right now, but, and notice I'm starting to get a little bit of sticking going on when I pick it up. And see the pattern, how it's stuck to it really good. Wow, yeah, look. I don't see a pencil mark 1 on that thing anymore. So, Yeah, let's take a look at that right there on finishing on broken down sand, and then we'll come back, we'll add a little bit of fresh sand, recondition it with that, and then we'll take another look. Okay, so there's the TV. Let me rinse this off. Oh yeah, there we go. Now that's in the middle of the stone. Let's come up to the ends where we know that we were hitting, because it looks to me, although we can't see any more pencil marks, it looks like there's an area right in here that's still got a different texture. This does also, but the rest of it's looking pretty even. Let me shake it off a time or two more. Okay, now the way I'm reading this right here is that this is about what the rubbing stone did, okay, but it was extremely fast. I mean, from the first circle I did on that, I could just feel that thing ripping the entire top layer of that stone off. About as fast as a sick powder. So what we're going to do now, we put some sand on the top, right? And we went ahead and rubbed it and got it mostly flat. Okay, but what we did is we broke down all that sand. So all that sand is much, much finer now. So now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and rinse off the cinder block, put fresh sand down, rub it just a little bit, you know, to condition the face of the stone, and then come back and take another look. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. Yeah, this sand right now is pretty much turned into mud. Should have done this outside, I would guess, this part, so that we could just hit it with a garden hose and get all this stuff off really fast. Okay, so that's pretty close. Let's go ahead and hit it with some fresh sand. Okay, and then hit that with some water. Now we're just going to give it a couple of very light circles. Okay, that's enough right there. We want to finish with very, very coarse, sharp grains. So we cut, and we don't cut until it quits cutting. We just cut for a little bit so that hopefully it leaves a nice fresh surface on here. Well, it's still kind of in the middle. There we go. Okay, so we've still got some work to do in the middle of the stone. There's still some areas there that you could just see just a second ago. We had that matte looking stuff, but look at this. This is what we're after. See, there's that nice sharp, these nice sharp corners that are nice and clean. We will do a quick scratch pattern on this, and then we'll move to the silicon carbide. Alright, so here maybe you'll be able to see all this stuff here in the middle. While it is getting there, it hasn't been touched as much as back in here or up in here. But I'm still kind of amazed at how fast that loose sand cut. Oh. You hear that sound? It sounds really good, and it feels like it's doing some really good cutting. Okay. Now, let's see what our scratch pattern shows us. I think this blade I was doing some serious edge stability tests with. That's what all this cracking is down here. I think I was you know, it kind of looks familiar. Like I was doing brass rod tests to see how many it would take to fail. But anyway, that scratch pattern right there looks really good. Maybe not quite as coarse of a gouge in it as like the 80 grit sandpaper, but that is a really nice cheap way to get that stone really flat pretty fast. So we're going to put this, and we're going to say sand brick. There we go. Okay, so now the last one, the stuff that I've had the best luck with so far. Well, pretty close to it anyway. We are going to go with the found plate glass. You know, usually I use that stuff that I get from the guy at the glass shop that I get you know, glass for windows and stuff at. Okay, so there's our coarse grit. Here's our fine grit. Now that fine grit looks entirely too fine for this coarse side of the stone. This coarse grit, let's the lid on my 36 grit sticks quite a bit. Okay, so this coarse grit here, it looks to me like it's a little bit coarser than the 6090, but doesn't look as coarse as like 36 grit. So I'm going to call that like, I don't know, like a 50 grit, something like that. I'm sure somebody's probably measured it somewhere or other. Let's cut just the corner off of this. Toss some powder down. Okay. Now this is usually fairly loud, so just fair warning. Okay, now you can really tell where that stone's hitting. Okay, let's do a little bit more, and then we'll take a look at it underneath the scope. Okay, I'm not sure if you could hear the change in the pitch, but that grit is really starting to get broke down, and it doesn't feel near as fine as what it was. So let's go rinse this off, and then we'll take a look. Now when I rinse this off, okay, now when we were flattening the stones, you know, like rubbing the conditioning stone up against this one underneath running water, you know, that's kind of a necessary evil sort of thing, right? Because unless you're going to have like another container in the shop where you rub them together and dip them and rub them together and dip them. But you also notice that over there I was trying to more condition it. I wasn't really going for flat like this. This stuff right here does not belong in your sink drain, okay? I mean, that's basically sand, okay? And pretty much, I mean, if the P-trap in your sink doesn't catch this and clog up there, then you're putting sand down into your sewer system, right? So any low dips or anything like that in your sewer line, where the water goes down, this grit is going to fall out of it, and it's going to settle in those dips. And it might take 10 or 20 years, but it's not a good thing for your sewer system, okay? So rinse this off into the garbage can, get the majority of it off in the garbage can, and then rinse the last little bit of it off in the sink. Okay, here, so okay, we're still kind of at the tail end of the middle there. Or are we not? There we go. Okay, this is still kind of the same deal. You know, we're still getting more and more flat. I mean, this is, you know, that far in from the edge of that stone. And we're still cleaning it up, but this still looks dull to me. You know, these, the edges just aren't sharp the way they should be. Now, the reason for that is because, you know, we might have started off with this nice fresh grit. You know, this nice fresh grit right out of the package, right? But as we use it, it gets broken down, and it's just like dulling a stone while you're sharpening with it. So what we need to do is we need to finish on fresh grit. So we need to wash this off, put some more of that silicon carbide powder down, cut it on fresh grit, and then we should have pretty much as good as we're going to get on the face of that stone. So let me rinse this off. So here, when I'm talking about rinsing this off, so there's the trash can, right? And you just rinse the majority of it off into that trash can. You know, because you're not going to plug up the trash can. Okay, so now we're going to go a little bit more of the powder. A little more water. Now again, we're just going to do this for a little bit, because now we're not so much flattening, even though there is a section here in the middle that still needs flattened, but now we're conditioning. See how those grains are still looking real nice and sharp? And that right there is about as far as I want to go. I can start to almost tell that pitch is about to change, or has changed a little bit. Alright, we got to turn the camera back on. Uh-oh. My finger was still wet when I reached up and hit the button. I hope that doesn't get into that camera. Alright, so now you can tell by the naked eye that the sides here are feeling way more better. I mean, they feel aggressive to the touch. Okay? So the scope should tell us that even more. There's a good spot. Okay. So now see how we don't have a whole lot of trash in the sides. Okay. And this was just with a quick rinse. You know, I didn't wash it off or nothing. But you can see all these points look way, way sharper. Okay. And much cleaner and ready to go to work. So now let's move this out of the way. We'll do our last scratch pattern test. Because the coarse side, you know, you want the coarse side to cut really fast and aggressive, you know, because this is your shaping side of your stone. Okay, a little bit of oil on there. You know, we've used all of our knives at least once, so let's go to this side of the paper one. Oh, did you hear that? That sounds nice, okay? And let me tell you that the feel on this, the feel just tells me that this stone is about to eat this blade's lunch. Now remember, this is 1095 at, you know, 61, 62, 63. Let's go a little bit more oil. Now, I don't know if you can hear that pitch changing, okay? But that's from a fresh cut stone to now we're wearing it as we sharpen with it. But even at right there, boy, it still feels really nice. Now let's look at our scratch pattern. Yeah, look at that. I mean, that looks like, I mean, that is some serious shaping power right there. I mean, you see how deep these grooves are? I mean, they're just tearing that steel right off, okay? So that right there is how this stone ought to cut on the coarse side, okay? And you kind of watched it. Now, I'm not sure how much of it... Let's pull you back out here. Yeah, we got time for some closing remarks here. So I'm not too sure how... Now I forgot what I was going to say. You know, I mean, I don't know... The biggest thing is that this stone is an unknown, okay? I mean, it is acting like a Norton crystalline stone. But you know, it could be a craftsman stone, or you know, maybe Smiths made one back then. You know, I mean, I really don't know what this stone is. It acts like a crystalline, but this right here is the scratch pattern off of a properly conditioned stone. So, you know, I am going to go ahead and shut you off. I'm going to kind of collect my thoughts on this, and then I'll do it'll probably be a fairly quick wrap-up video as to, you know, going over what tools we used, the scratch patterns and everything, and then kind of my final thoughts on which way would be a good way to go. You know, I mean, if you have $5 to spend to flatten your stone, or if you don't really care how much it costs. Yeah, we'll go with that. But so far, I'm pretty excited about this stone and this whole series and letting you see what you got to see. Again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and the next one will be the wrap-up. Yep, we'll see you in a little bit.